Good morning / afternoon / evening, everybody. I am SouthPawRacer. Many of you may be aware that I am a commentator on online sim racing when I'm not making a fool of myself or trying to make people laugh on this channel. I commentate for a broadcasting firm called V8's Online, and we broadcast the biggest series in the Australia-New Zealand iRacing community. That's not a tagline or an exaggeration, it's literally what we do. Things are pretty good right now, honestly. We've seen some real growth in the last couple of years in viewer numbers and the like, and now that iRacing has launched their new esports network, which we are a part of, we're open to a wider audience than ever. Of course, with that kind of exposure comes the double-edged sword of more people having an opinion on your work. And because we don't go behind the scenes all that much, it's not immediately obvious to viewers what goes into putting something like this together. Sometimes there'll be people who ask us genuine questions or have genuine feedback that comes from a legitimate place. But in doing so, they assume things about the way we work that just aren't true, and then we have to spend time explaining why. And then sometimes there's one or two people in the broadcast chat who think they're Smarty McZinger and make some snarky comments about how we have no idea what's going on, or how we finally noticed something that had already been on the screen for a few seconds. Well, I'm gonna drop some truth bombs, or rather, truth party poppers. There's more to broadcasting and commentating on online sim racing than meets the eye.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Dude, perfect.
10.
Better turn my microphone off. Don't want that on. Whenever you are ready.
Welcome, one and all, to the iRacing Esports Network this Wednesday, the 22nd of August, 2018. We are V8's Online, and this is the V8's Online Porsche Super Cup Australasia. As I start this, I want to make one thing clear. This is just what we do at V8's Online. Other broadcasters might have a different process. Don't take this as gospel for all of sim racing broadcasting, other sims as well, or even esports casting in general, for that matter. I mean, I don't know myself, that this stuff just isn't talked about as much as it probably should. Anyway, before I get into what we do on the ground, I need to say that there is one unifying reason behind the way we operate. When it comes down to it, we do or don't do things a certain way because the internet. At V8's Online, our crew comes from all over the shop. Our founder, lead broadcast director, and occasional commentator, Jay Kennedy, is in Victoria. I'm in Western Australia. Cam Dance is in New Zealand. Our legend, Stephen Sandman Clark, currently lives in Queensland. We have a few guys peppered all throughout the eastern states. For the V8 Supercar Online Premier Series, Jake Sperry comes in from the UK. V8's Online's co-owner and occasional director and commentator, Scott Fountain, is a Kiwi living in the UK. And there are times when he is on the road and broadcasting. In fact, for much of the 2016 V8 Scops season, he was remoting into his PC, which was still in New Zealand, and directing the broadcasts remotely from the back of a camper van in the European countryside. True story. Anyway, you can see our team is quite globally spread, so that's one difficulty we face: distance. Now for operations. For a typical broadcast, Jay handles the streaming side of things as director. He controls the in-sim cameras and all the information that's shown on the broadcast overlays, and it's from his PC that the stream originates. All well and good, but when you add us, the commentators, into the mix, a problem arises. It's not like in some real-life motorsports broadcasting where the commentators are in their booth commentating on the same feed the viewers watch, which is then packaged with the commentary track and overlays and sent out to the wide world live. No. In our sim racing broadcasts, we can't see what Jay is showing to everyone else, at least without a significant delay. Again, Childish Gambino. The stream can be at least 10 seconds behind the action as it unfolds, sometimes more if your connection is particularly bad or if it takes long enough to buffer. And even then, the delay is different for everyone individually. So it's not a case of just pull up the stream ourselves and commentate on that, as one delightful chap once suggested to us, a bit less politely. That would mean that all of our commentary would be out of sync with each other and what is actually on the stream. It'd be a complete mess. So what happens is, during a broadcast, we are all in sim, spectating the same session, controlling our own perspectives, and drawing commentary from what we can see on our end. Meanwhile, Jay, who has it set up so that he can't be heard on stream, is constantly in our ears on Discord, telling us what he's focusing on, what is happening at any given time, so that we know what to talk about when. Sometimes, through his third-party timing software, he'll notice something emerging and tell us about it so that we can instantly be on it, or add it to whatever discussion we're having on the broadcast at the time. Yeah, certainly. Well, it looks like Nomu's going to be eventuating there, but one mistake from Larnack is going to bring him right into the thick of it as McMillan is stopped. Looks to me like, wow, that was just losing it by himself at the top of the corkscrew. Once again, the braking of these cars catching those drivers out, Brock. It can work the other way too. When there's a lull in the action, or we're keeping track of a few developing stories at once, us commentators will spectate other cars in the session, looking elsewhere from what the broadcast is focusing on. If we find something, we can let Jay know in a roundabout way that doesn't make it obvious what we're actually saying. In a way, directing the broadcast sometimes becomes a collaborative process where we all play a part nudging it in a certain direction, but at the end of the day, Jay's the one in control. He knows best. Of course, this way of communicating and the lack of real visuals to act upon in real time, in terms of like actually looking at what everyone else is seeing in some cases, it means that sometimes there's a slip up. We don't have access to team radio. There's no army of marshals around the track to notify us of incidents, and there's no multi-screen feed of every onboard and trackside camera at once. We got none of that. We have to rely on each other to know what's happening. In the moment, verbal communication is the only thing we've got. Going into the middle of the track as they come into turn one for the first time. Dane Warren leading the way.
Oh, we've got a car around in the background, sorry.
Oh, yeah, we definitely have.
Jackson Harlow.
Yeah, Jackson Harlow and Martin Silvassi as well in trouble there in turn one. So
and sorry, a car around at turn three now. I think that's Gary Hamilton's around. We just had a car do a barrel roll. That was an ASM car there. We've got Winkleman around as well, I think, in all of that. So bit of carnage in this first race. Sorry to interrupt you there, Reese.
Yeah, no worries. That was worth interrupting for that. That was certainly not optimal for quite a few drivers. We may not notice something that Jay is showing to everyone else for a few seconds, sometimes more, until he calls our attention to it, and vice versa. When that happens, you brush it off and you move on, because really, what else can you do? Unless more than one of us is focusing on that exact situation at that exact time, we can miss it. And all you can do is in response is just rewind, watch what happened, and get updated. Jay can show a replay on the broadcast as well. I mean, not everyone is Alex Zanardi, right?
Yeah, that's it. He thought about it. He looked down the inside there, and he's a little bit wide there as well.
Wayne Hewitt!
Oh, Rizzo around!
Whoa, hold on a minute. Ross Rizzo around. Ethan Warren with problems as well.
Oh, that was close there. Wow.
Ethan had to take to the grass to avoid Hewitt. Not grass, gravel, but he had to take avoiding action because Wayne Hewitt was going super slow there.
Trying to replay both.
Slow down. So we're going to get a replay presented by CPR Car Parts of both of those incidents. What happened to Rizzo?
So Larnack has tipped Rizzo around into the final turn there. I dare say there'll be a penalty coming for that. He basically drove into the back of Rizzo, I think. Oh, did Rizzo have a moment there? I'll have a quick look here.
He might have. It looked at me like Rizzo got on the brakes a tad early.
Yeah, his rear brakes locked, and then...
Technology is amazing, but I find it curious how many more limitations pop up with it. And that's not a knock on iRacing or any of the sims that people broadcast with. That's just the way things are because of our nature, where we are in the world. If we were all in the same location, like many professional big esports and sim racing events are, well then none of our quirky ways of operating would be necessary, and the associated mistakes and miscommunications probably wouldn't happen. We'd operate basically as a real life motorsport broadcaster would, except we'd all be, I don't know, crowded around a couple of screens in a studio or something. But again, that's unfortunately not the case for us. Right now, anyway. As for camera views, the stream, Jay obviously uses custom camera packs, TV cams or a nice looking onboard, but we commentators can choose whatever view we like. I prefer in iRacing to use rear chase cams so that I can better translate what is happening in a battle without my eyes roving around the screen all the time and having to recalibrate my perspective whenever a trackside camera switches, which the sim does automatically. Is it realistic? No. Does it work? Yeah, so do I care if it's realistic? Hell no. Whatever works to get the best product out there for you guys, we will do it. That's not to say that what we do is perfect 100% of the time. We mess up. I mess up quite a bit, in fact. We've done broadcasts that have been lackluster, that haven't been up to our usual standards, and we hold ourselves to a pretty high standard. And to tell you the truth, I still struggle with races where not a lot is happening, like in an endurance race with no battles going on, for example. It can be hard to find stuff to talk about, and that is where people like Jay Kennedy, Bo Albert, and Jake Sperry are great to work with because they can always find something to fill the airtime when a race is quiet. I try my very best to learn from those guys and what they do, and I pay attention to what real-life broadcasters do as well, because they're the ones that we're trying to model ourselves on. I'm studying broadcasting at university, and this genre, sim racing broadcasting, is where I figured out that is one of the many, many, many things that I want to do with my life. At the end of the day, you never stop learning, right? And part of the learning experience is knowing what issues are present in the environment you work in and finding ways to overcome or work around those issues. I like to think that we've got it worked out pretty well with the tools we have at our disposal. That said, if I don't recognize and acknowledge where I am faltering, and if I don't apply myself to try and improve, then I'm not doing the job justice. So don't take this video as defending or hitting back at haters and critics. It's intended as an explainer more than anything, so that if people do have feedback, actual not douchey feedback for me or for anyone else in sim racing broadcasting, then you'll be able to contextualize that feedback and channel it in a way that is helpful. That way, sim racing as a spectator esport can continue on the up and up, and hopefully we can stand with the best. The explanations may not be 100% concrete in the future either. This is just how we do things now. As tech changes and improves, this video may be completely irrelevant in another 5 years, but I think it's worth putting out there now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little ramble, soapboxy sort of thing, and let me know what you think in the comments. I'd really like to know. Consider subscribing as well if you haven't already. I put out videos when I put them out. I'm SouthPawRacer, I'm a sim racer, I make videos about that and other stuff. I will see you at the first corner. Subscribe for more excellent food reviews of potato chips.
This was the V8's Online Porsche Super Cup Australasia, round 4 from Laguna Seca. Round winner, Dane Warren. We'll catch you next time.
Good job, lads.
What the damn hell?